Hi folks, if like me you enjoy shooting the odd time exposure, the first question to ask yourself is, do I need any filters? Do I need any neutral density filters in particular? Well, at night obviously not, at dusk no, probably not either. In fact, the majority of my photography I hardly ever use any filters anyway. The occasional grad to reduce the brightness in the sky, but that's another thing, although you can combine those with neutral density filters of course. But it all really depends on the subject that you're shooting. Okay, but in daylight, you'll definitely need some sort of neutral density filter, because despite dropping the ISO down to its absolute minimum setting, whether it's 100 ISO or 50 ISO, you'll then need to stop right down, f11, f16, 22, maybe even f32, depending on the camera you're using. In brighter light, daylight, you will definitely need a neutral density filter. Okay. So the procedure is you will need a tripod, ideally a cable release. You will need a viewfinder blank, not absolutely essential, but during brighter light you will need it, and if it happens to be where you're shooting there are lights behind you, you will definitely need a viewfinder blank, and that's to avoid the possibility of light leak into the sensor, therefore corrupting your digital file. The procedure is to frame, to focus, compose your image, set your exposure, do a quick test shot. And you do all that before you drop the filter in, because once the neutral density filter is in front of your lens, you look for the viewfinder, you will not be able to see a thing. Particularly if you're using a filter such as Lee's 10 stop big stopper, or even more, their 15 stop super stopper. Wow, can you imagine that? In bright sunlight you can get some pretty extended exposures. It's amazing. I don't have one, I only have the Lee 10 stopper incidentally. Once you've done that, well, now you have to think, you have to do some serious thinking. And this is where brain fade can certainly set in. Well, happily, if you have purchased a Lee filter, neutral density, you will know they come with a booklet that gives you an exposure chart. However, much better than that, Lee filters have brought out an app for your smart-ass phone. Yes, works with iPhone and Android. Of course, there's another easy way to achieve blur, folks, and that's if you kick over your tripod. That's a joke, okay. And it's fantastic, it really is fun to use. And it's an absolute no-brainer. If like me, you don't have a brain, just use this app and it makes life so much easier. Okay folks, I'm gonna track in. Let's see if the G7 can track focus. I think it can. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. You'll see here that 1/30th of a second equates to 30 seconds. So that's a bit of a benchmark there, I guess. So you could use that as a bit of a template. And then if you were to go down to 15th, it's then becomes 1 minute, an eighth becomes 2 minutes and 4 minutes, and so the time goes on, and so the time extends. So keep on watching folks, because I'm going to show how this works in more detail. Okay, so the first thing you do, once you've downloaded the app, click on the Lee Stopper app. All you have to do then, depending on the aperture you set, is to move the dial either way. 30 seconds exposure, 8.5 hours. As you can see, that's set for the 10 stop big stopper, but you can reduce it to just the 6 stops. And if you wanted a 1 second or needed a 1 second exposure at any given aperture, you probably, if you're shooting a landscape, you want a time exposure, you'll be using pretty small apertures, f11, f16, f22, something like that. 1 second will give you 1 minute, and back to a 30th of a second will give you 2 seconds. But that's a little stopper, so that reduces your exposure by 6 stops. Then of course you have the big stopper, and then calculations for the super stopper. And at 1/30th of a second, that's 16 minutes. And the good thing is about this, to check exposure, do a faster shutter speed initially so you don't have to wait so long to see the results. Maybe 8 seconds or something. Let's go back to the 10, I think that's say 500th, and you got a 2 second exposure. So you can check that it's all correlating okay and that you're getting the right values. Now, the other great thing about this is that once you're over a certain time, say for 8 seconds for example, so you press this little arrow here and you get a timer. How good's that? Let's start it. Boing! Make sure you got the volume turned up on your phone, of course, otherwise that defeats the object. But it means you haven't got to hold the phone all the time.
Fantastic. How's that then, hey? That's pretty neat, isn't it? And again with the little stopper, let's try 5 seconds. And there we go. And they're all color coded, so wait for it, folks. Like it. Great little app. And that's another thing, if you're shooting at dusk, remember, wherever you set the exposure at, remember it's getting darker, so you will need to increase that time for each successive shot. So there you have it, folks, the leaf filter, big stopper, little stopper, humongously dark stopper, super stopper, 15 stops. Wow. Highly recommend it. Fantastic. Incidentally, it's a free app too. Can't be bad, can it?